It was written that the two souls, once joined, would unlock the secrets of the amber light.
The Fox-Girl and the Cryogenic-Boy, Earth, August 13, 2163. Humanity had already reached the stars. 5 distant worlds now bore the mark of mankind, small colonies at first, fragile foot his thoughts blurred. Holds carved into alien soil. Each one had been a gamble. Each one had paid off. But Meridia 4 was different. Long-range scans painted a picture that bordered on perfection: temperate climate, breathable atmosphere, abundant water, and vast stretches of fertile land. A second Earth, waiting patiently across the void. There was just one problem. It was far. Even at 75% the speed of light, the journey would take 2 centuries. So humanity did what it had learned to do best. It adapted. 1,000 volunteers gathered beneath the massive hull of the colony ship Dragon's Wisdom. Engineers, scientists, doctors, builders, some of the brightest minds Earth had to offer. And among them a boy. Bobby Weston stood slightly apart from the crowd, craning his neck upward as he stared at the ship. It stretched into the sky like a steel mountain, its surface gleaming under the morning sun. "Still can't believe that thing's taking us all the way there," he said. His uncle chuckled, nervous. "No," Bobby replied quickly, then hesitated. "Maybe a little." His aunt smiled warmly and rested a hand on his shoulder. "That's normal. Big journey." Bobby nodded, though his eyes were still locked on the ship. He wasn't just any passenger. At 12 years old, he was one of the youngest junior engineers ever cleared for a long-haul colonization mission. He had earned his place, not through connections but through talent. And today he was leaving Earth behind. The final meal was quieter than expected. 1,000 people gathered in a massive dining hall inside the ship, yet the usual buzz of conversation felt subdued. There were smiles, laughter even, but beneath it all something heavier lingered: finality. One engineer raised a glass. "To Meridia 4. A few others followed. "To Meridia 4. Bobby took a sip of his drink, glancing between his aunt and uncle. "See you in 200 years, he said with a grin, trying to sound casual. His aunt pulled him into a tight hug. "You will." His uncle ruffled his hair. "Try not to fix the whole ship before we wake up, all right?" Bobby laughed. "No promises." Hours later, the tone had shifted. The crew moved with purpose now, checking cargo, verifying systems, running diagnostics. Every detail mattered. A mistake out here wouldn't just be inconvenient. It would be fatal. "Double-check everything," one engineer muttered as he passed Bobby. "Don't want to get there and realize we forgot something important." Bobby nodded seriously. "Already did my section twice." "Good man." Then the announcement came. Captain Steelcrest's voice echoed through the ship. "Attention all crew. Final checks are complete. Proceed to your assigned cryopods." The moment had arrived. The cryo bay was vast, row upon row of cylindrical pods, each one humming softly with contained energy. The air felt colder here, sterile. Bobby walked beside his aunt and uncle, his excitement now mixing with something quieter, heavier. This was it. "See you soon," he said, stopping at his assigned pod. His aunt hugged him again, tighter this time. "We love you." His uncle gave him a firm pat on the shoulder. "Sleep well, kid." Bobby smiled. "You too." He climbed into the pod and lay back, staring up at the curved interior. The door began to close, sealing with a heavy, airtight lock. Through the small viewport, he caught one last glimpse of his family. Then the glass frosted over. The system activated. A calm, artificial voice spoke softly. Cryogenic sequence initiated. A chill crept through his body, sharp at first, then overwhelming. His breathing slowed. And then darkness. 115 years later, the dragon's wisdom drifted silently through the void. Inside, 1,000 souls slept on. The ship's AI Mia remained vigilant, monitoring, adjusting, maintaining, waiting. Proximity alert. The voice cut through the silence. 4 rogue comets detected. Trajectory, direct collision course. A pause. Then impact imminent. Thrusters fired. System strained. Power rerouted. Evasive maneuvers failing. A flicker. Recalculating, another flicker. Failure. A beat. Impact in 3, 2, 1. Light, heat, violence. The ship tore apart in a single, catastrophic instant. Steel twisted. Compartments ruptured. Entire sections vanished in the explosion. Cryopods, once safely secured, were ripped free and scattered into the endless dark. And then silence. March 4th, 3363 space had long since swallowed the remains. Debris drifted, cold. Forgotten. All signs of life gone. All but one. A single cryopod floated alone through the void, scarred, damaged, but intact. Inside, Bobby Weston slept on. Unchanged, unaware. The AI flickered back to life. Power minimal. Life signs stable. A pause. Then scanning for habitable environment, seconds stretched into minutes. Then planet detected. Viable. Thrusters sputtered weakly to life, nudging the pod toward its new destination. Re-entry sequence initiated. The pod screamed into the atmosphere. Flames licked across its surface as it tore through the sky like a falling star. Below, a vast jungle stretched endlessly, green and alive. Landing zone identified. Thrusters fired. The descent slowed. But not enough impact. The ground shook. Trees splintered. Earth tore open as the pod carved a long trench through the jungle floor, before finally coming to a stop in a cloud of dust and smoke. Then stillness. Hours later, a pair of figures moved carefully through the dense jungle. Red walked ahead, alert, his eyes scanning the surroundings. Behind him, Kiri followed closely, her ears twitching at every unfamiliar sound. Was that really a falling star? She asked, her voice filled with curiosity. I don't know, Red replied. But whatever it was, it came down hard. We need to make sure it didn't start a fire. Kiri smiled slightly. Or maybe it's something interesting. Red gave her a look. Interesting can still be dangerous. I know, she said, though her excitement didn't fade. It took hours to reach the crash site. When they finally broke through the trees, both of them stopped. A long scar stretched across the earth, fresh, raw, and unmistakable. And at its center, a cylinder, white, scorched, silent. Kiri stepped forward slowly. What is it? Red narrowed his eyes. Old, very old. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its surface. Curiosity got the better of her. Kiri reached out and pressed one. With a soft hiss, a panel slid open. She leaned closer and froze. Inside was a boy. He looked peaceful, as if he were simply asleep. Kiri gently wiped the glass, revealing his face more clearly. He's human, she whispered. Red stepped beside her. Looks like it. Kiri tilted her head slightly, studying him. He looks kind. Red exhaled slowly, maybe. A pause. Then he made his decision. Let's take him back. As the jungle settled once more into silence, the boy from another time lay sleeping, unaware that his world was gone. Unaware that everything he had ever known had turned to dust. Unaware that the first person he would see when he woke would change his life forever. The journey back took longer. Not because of the distance, but because of what they carried. The strange cylinder hovered just above the jungle floor, suspended by a humming anti-gravity lift. Its scorched surface caught the fading sunlight as Red guided it carefully through the dense foliage. Kiri walked beside it, glancing at the boy inside every few seconds. He hadn't moved. Not even a little. "Do you think he's dreaming?" she asked quietly. Red adjusted the lift's controls. "If he is, it's been a long one." Kiri frowned slightly at that, her ears lowering for a moment. Then just as quickly, her curiosity returned. "He doesn't look dangerous." Red gave a small huff. "Most dangerous things don't." Kiri shot him a look. "Dad." "I'm serious," he said, though his tone softened. "We don't know anything about him. Or that thing he's inside." She glanced back at the pod. "I want to know." Red smiled faintly. "I know you do." By the time they reached the outskirts of the village, the sky had begun to darken. Silverleaf came into view slowly, nestled among towering trees, its homes woven into the natural landscape rather than carved from it. Soft lanterns glowed along elevated walkways made of polished wood and living vines. Structures curved organically, shaped to fit the forest instead of fighting it. It felt alive. And as Red and Kiri entered, they were not unnoticed. "What is that?" "Is that metal?" "Wait, look inside." Curious voices spread quickly as villagers gathered, their amber and gold eyes reflecting the strange glow of the pod. The Vulpine were a graceful people, tall, lean, covered in soft fur that ranged from deep reds to pale silvers. Their ears flicked with every sound, their tails swaying subtly with emotion. And right now, they were very interested. Kiri puffed up slightly proud. "We found it near the southern ridge. It fell from the sky." "That was no star," someone murmured. Red didn't stop walking. "Make way. We're taking this to the elder." The crowd parted, though not without lingering stares. They reached a larger structure at the heart of the village, simpler than some of the others, but carrying a quiet authority. Red lowered the pod gently to the ground. Kiri stepped forward and knocked. The door opened a moment later. An elderly Vulpine woman stood in the doorway, her fur a soft silver, her posture slightly bent, but her eyes were sharp. "Very sharp." "Kiri," she said, her voice calm. "Out this late." Kiri straightened. "Elder Nala, we found something." Red stepped aside, revealing the pod. For a brief moment, Nala froze. Her eyes widened. Not in fear, but recognition. "That is not possible," she whispered. Kiri blinked. "You know what it is." Nala stepped forward slowly, her gaze tracing every detail of the cylinder. "I had hoped I would never see one of these again." Red crossed his arms. "What is it?" Nala exhaled softly. "A relic," she said, "from a tragedy that echoed across the stars." Kiri leaned forward eagerly. "What happened?" Nala placed a hand gently against the pod's surface. "Over 1,000 years ago," she began, "a human colony ship was lost. Its name was the Dragon's Wisdom." Red's ears twitched. "Humans?" "Yes," Nala said. "They were traveling to settle a distant world. A journey that required them to sleep through centuries." Kiri's eyes lit up. "Like him?" Nala nodded once. "Like him." A pause. Then her expression darkened slightly. "They never arrived." The small gathering that had followed Red and Kiri fell silent. "Reports said the ship was destroyed by rogue celestial bodies," Nala continued. "Debris scattered across nearby systems. Some of it reached a frozen world not far from here." Red frowned. "Glaciarus too." Nala glanced at him. "You've heard of it." "Old trade routes pass near it," he said. "Dangerous place." Nala nodded. The remains were studied. The conclusion was grim. Kiri's voice softened. "No survivors, no survivors," Nala confirmed. Kiri looked back at the boy inside the pod. But he's right here. Nala followed her gaze. Yes, she said quietly, he is. Red let out a slow breath. So either the reports were wrong, or fate intervened, Nala finished. Kiri stepped closer to the pod again, peering inside. He's been sleeping this whole time. Yes, Nala said. Cryogenic preservation. The body is kept in stasis, unchanged. Kiri tilted her head. So how old is he? Nala looked at her. He has lived for over 1,000 years. Kiri's ears perked, then flattened in confusion. But he looks like me. Because to him, Nala said gently, no time has passed at all. That thought seemed to settle heavily over everyone present. Red glanced at the pod again. He's going to wake up thinking it's still his time. Yes. And everyone he knew has been gone for centuries, Nala finished. Kiri's tail stilled. That's really sad. Nala placed a hand on her shoulder. Yes, she said softly, it is. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Red broke the silence. What do we do? Nala considered the question carefully. Her gaze moved from the pod to Kiri, then back again. Finally she spoke. We give him a chance. Kiri's ears lifted slightly. We wake him? She asked. Nala nodded. He is a child, she said. Alone in a time not his own. Whatever the past may have been, he deserves a future. Red hesitated. We don't know how he'll react. No, Nala agreed. But we do know how we will. Red looked at her. Nala's expression softened, but there was strength behind it. With kindness. Kiri smiled. I like that plan. Red sighed, then nodded. All right. But we do this carefully. Of course, Nala said. We will bring him to the clinic in the morning, Doctor. Eldrin will monitor his condition during revival. Kiri perked up again. I want to be there. Red immediately shook his head. Kiri, yes, Nala said. Both of them looked at her. Nala's gaze rested on Kiri. It would be wise. Red frowned. Why? Because when he wakes, Nala said, his world will shatter. Kiri's ears lowered slightly. And the first face he saw, Nala continued, was yours. Kiri blinked. Mine. Nala nodded. If there is even a small chance that your presence brings him comfort, then you should be there. Red looked between them, then sighed. Fine. But you stay close. Understood. Kiri beamed. Yes, Dad. Nala stepped back from the pod. Leave it here tonight, she said. It will be safe. Red nodded. We'll return at first light. As the small crowd began to disperse, Kiri lingered. She stepped closer one last time, gazing through the glass. The boy hadn't changed. Still quiet. Still peaceful. Still alone. Nala noticed. He cannot hear you, she said gently. Kiri didn't look away. I know. A pause. Then softly, but I think I'll say it anyway. She leaned just a little closer to the glass. Good night, Bobby, she whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Of course, nothing should happen. And yet Kiri could have sworn he looked a little less alone. High above, the stars shimmered faintly through the canopy. Silent witnesses to a journey that had lasted over 1,000 years. A journey that had finally come to an end. And another just beginning. Morning came softly to Silverleaf. Golden light filtered through the towering canopy, scattering across the village in warm, shifting patterns. The air carried the scent of damp earth, sweet fruit and fresh leaves. To most, it was just another day. To a few, it was something much more. Kiri had been awake for hours. Sleep had come slowly the night before, her thoughts circling endlessly around one thing, a boy from the stars. She sat on the edge of the walkway outside her home, her tail flicking behind her in small, restless motions. Every so often, she'd glance toward the center of the village. Toward the clinic. You're up early. Kiri turned her head. Her mother, Belle, leaned lightly against the doorway, arms crossed, a knowing smile on her face. Kiri shrugged. Couldn't sleep. Belle's smile widened slightly. MMHM. Kiri's ears twitched. What? Nothing, Belle said, pushing off the doorway. Just thinking. That's dangerous, Kiri shot back. Belle laughed softly. Careful. You get that from me. A moment passed. Then Belle's expression softened. You're excited. Kiri didn't deny it. He looked lonely. Belle studied her daughter for a second, then nodded. Then maybe it's a good thing you'll be there. Before Kiri could respond, a voice called from below. Kiri. Time to go, Red. Kiri was on her feet instantly, coming. The walk to the clinic felt longer than usual. Not because of distance, but because of anticipation. Elder Nala was already waiting when they arrived, standing calmly near the entrance. Good. You're here. Red nodded. Everything ready. Nala gestured inside. Doctor. Eldrin has prepared the room. The cryopod rested in the center of a private medical chamber. Clean, quiet, waiting. Doctor. Eldrin stood beside it, adjusting a handheld diagnostic instrument. He glanced up as they entered. Perfect timing, he said. We're about to begin. Kiri stepped closer, her eyes immediately drawn to the boy inside. Still asleep. Still unchanged. It says here there's a manual wake sequence, the doctor continued, gesturing to a small panel along the side of the pod. Old design but intuitive. Red crossed his arms. Safe. As safe as waking someone after 1,000 years can be, Eldrin replied dryly. Kiri swallowed slightly. Nala stepped forward. Begin. The doctor nodded and pressed a sequence of glowing buttons. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft hum filled the room. Lights flickered along the pod's surface. And a calm, artificial voice spoke. Revival sequence initiated. Kiri's ears perked. How long? Let's see. Eldrin glanced at the panel. 90 minutes. Kiri blinked. 90 minutes. Red huffed quietly. Good things take time. They waited. Every 10 minutes, doctor. Eldrin checked Bobby's vitals. Every time, his expression grew more curious. That's unusual. Kiri looked up quickly. What is it? The doctor tapped his device, then adjusted a setting and scanned again. His physiology, he said. It's dense. Red raised a brow. Dense. Nala nodded slightly. Earthborn. The doctor glanced at her. That would explain it. Kiri tilted her head. Explain what? Eldrin turned toward her. The gravity on his homeworld, Earth, is significantly stronger than ours. Red's ears twitched. How much stronger? Roughly double. That got everyone's attention. Kiri looked back at Bobby. So what does that mean? The doctor gave a small, thoughtful smile. It means, he said, once he's fully awake, he's going to be very strong. Kiri's eyes widened slightly. Then a slow grin spread across her face. That's kind of cool. Red sighed. Or dangerous. The AI voice chimed again. 10 minutes until full cognitive restoration. Kiri's heart skipped. 10 minutes, Red gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Remember what we talked about. Kiri nodded. Stay calm. Another nod, doctor. Eldrin stepped back. Everyone give him space. He looked at Kiri. Except you. She blinked to me. Nala gave a small nod. You should be the first thing he sees. Kiri hesitated, then stepped forward. Right up to the pod. Close enough that when the panel opened, she would be right there. The room fell quiet. 3 minutes, the AI said. Kiri swallowed. Her tail stilled. Her ears tilted forward slightly. 2 minutes. Red watched carefully. Nala stood still, hands folded. The doctor readied his instruments. 1 minute. Kiri leaned just slightly closer. "You're not alone anymore," she whispered. A soft hiss. The pods shifted. Locks disengaged one by one, with heavy, mechanical clicks. Cold vapor spilled out as the front panel slowly began to open. Kiri held her breath. Inside, the boy stirred. His fingers twitched first. Then his brow furrowed slightly. A slow inhale. And then his eyes opened. For a brief moment they were unfocused, distant, lost. Then they found her, bright, golden, alive. Kiri froze. Bobby stared at her. Confusion flickered across his face. Then something softer, simpler. "You're pretty." Kiri's entire face turned red. Behind her, red quietly covered his mouth. The doctor coughed. Nala's ears twitched just slightly. Kiri blinked rapidly. Thank you." Bobby pushed himself up slowly, wincing slightly as his body adjusted. "Where am I?" His voice was hoarse, small. "Where's my aunt and uncle?" The room shifted. The weight of reality creeping in. Kiri didn't move. Didn't step back. Instead, she smiled, gentle, warm, steady. "You're safe," she said softly. "My name is Kiri." Bobby blinked again, trying to process everything. His gaze flicked around the room, strange walls, strange people, then back to her. "Kiri," something in his voice changed. Just slightly. Confusion was still there, fear too. But now there was something else. A point to hold onto. Kiri smiled a little wider. And in that moment, a boy who had lost everything found the first piece of his new world. The room stayed quiet after Kiri spoke. "You're safe, my name is Kiri." Bobby repeated it softly. "Kiri," his voice was steadier now, but his eyes still darted around the room, taking in unfamiliar faces, unfamiliar shapes, unfamiliar everything. "This isn't the ship." Red stepped forward slightly. "No," he said gently. "It's not." Bobby looked down at his hands. Then back up again. "Did we land already?" No one answered. Kiri's ears lowered just a little. She didn't look away from him. Bobby frowned. "Where's my aunt and uncle?" The question hung in the air, heavy. Unavoidable. Red exhaled slowly. "Nala," he said quietly. The elder stepped forward. Her movements were calm, measured. But her eyes carried weight. She stopped a few steps from the pod. "Bobby Weston," she said gently, "there is something we must tell you." Bobby's expression shifted, not fear, not yet. But something close, okay. Nala didn't rush. "This may be difficult to hear," she continued. "But we believe it is better to be honest with you." Kiri swallowed. Her hands tightened slightly at her sides. "Your ship," Nala said softly, "was called the Dragon's Wisdom." Bobby nodded quickly. Yeah, that's right." Hope flickered in his eyes. "They are okay, right? Something just went wrong and there was an accident." The words landed hard. Bobby blinked. "What kind of accident?" Red answered this time. "Your ship was struck by rogue objects in space." Bobby stared at him, and Red's voice softened. "It didn't survive." Silence. Bobby didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe, no. It came out quiet, small. "That's not," he shook his head. "That's not possible." Kiri took a small step closer. "Bobby, no," he said again, louder this time. "No, that doesn't make sense." There were 1,000 people, systems, backup systems, escape pod. His voice cracked. "My aunt, my uncle." No one interrupted him. Red spoke again carefully. "Wreckage from your ship was found long ago." Bobby's eyes snapped toward him. "How long?" That was the moment. Nala answered. Over 1,000 years ago. Everything stopped. Bobby stared at her. What? You have been asleep, she said gently. For approximately 1,200 years. No. He shook his head again, faster now. That's not how cryo works. His breathing picked up. That's not 200 years, just 200. Kiri stepped closer again. Bobby, please, no. He snapped, then froze. The room went still. Bobby looked at her. Really looked at her. At her ears, her tail, her eyes. You're not human. Kiri's ears lowered fully now. No. His gaze moved around the room again. None of this made sense. None of it was right. This isn't Earth. No, Red said quietly. It isn't. Then where am I? Nala answered softly. A world called Azurwild. Bobby laughed. A short, broken sound. That's not real. No one smiled. This is a dream. Kiri shook her head. It's not. Then I'm still asleep. You're not. Then wake me up. That one hurt. Kiri stepped right up to the edge of the pod now, close. Closer than anyone else. I can't. Bobby's eyes locked onto hers. Searching. Desperate, please. Kiri hesitated, then slowly reached out and placed her hand gently against the edge of the pod. Not touching him. Just there. I'm sorry, she said softly. The truth settled in. Not all at once. But enough. Bobby's shoulders dropped. His gaze fell. They are gone. No one corrected him. Everyone, Kiri's voice was barely above a whisper. Yeah. Silence filled the room. Not empty, but heavy. Bobby sat there, staring at nothing. A boy who had gone to sleep surrounded by family, and woken up alone in a universe that had moved on without him. After a while, Red spoke again. You're not alone now. Bobby didn't respond. But he didn't argue either. And for now, that was enough. Time passed quietly after that. No one rushed him. No one pushed. Eventually, Dr. Eldrin cleared his throat. Physically, he's stable. Bobby blinked slightly, as if remembering where he was. What? The doctor gave a small smile. That means you're healthy. Oh. Kiri perked up just a little. That's good. Bobby glanced at her. Then looked away quickly. Yeah. Red stepped forward. You must be hungry. That got a reaction. Bobby hesitated. A little. Red chuckled softly. I'll take that as a yes. A few minutes later, Bobby stood carefully outside the pod. And immediately noticed something. Whoa. He took a step. Then another too fast. He stumbled slightly, then caught himself. What is this? Kiri tilted her head. What's wrong? Everything feels light, Doctor. Eldrin nodded. That would be the gravity difference. Red crossed his arms. Your homeworld has stronger gravity than ours. Bobby flexed his hand slowly. So I'm not weak. The doctor smiled faintly. Quite the opposite. Kiri grinned. I told you that's cool. Bobby glanced at her again. This time just a little longer. Yeah, he admitted. It kinda is. That was the first small crack in the weight around him. Clothes were brought in, light, breathable fabric suited for the warm climate. Bobby changed quickly, still adjusting to the strange feeling of everything around him. When he stepped outside the clinic, he stopped. The village spread out before him. Living wood. Soft lights. People moving along elevated walkways. And everywhere those ears. Those tails, wow. Kiri stepped up beside him. Pretty nice, right? Bobby nodded slowly. Yeah. A pause. It's really different. Kiri smiled. You'll get used to it. Red cleared his throat. Come on. There's someone you should meet. They walked a short distance through the village, drawing curious glances along the way. Bobby noticed them all, but stayed close. They stopped at a cozy home, built into the curve of a massive tree. Warm light spilled from inside, and the smell, Bobby's stomach growled loudly. Kiri giggled. Guess that answers that. Red knocked once and opened the door. Inside stood two vulpine adults. Nala stepped forward. Bobby, she said gently, these are Amber and Von Velstar. Amber smiled warmly. Hello, Bobby. Von gave a friendly nod. I hear you're hungry. Bobby blinked, yeah. Von grinned, good. I made plenty. Kiri leaned in slightly. He's really good, she whispered. Bobby looked between them. Still unsure. Still overwhelmed. Nala spoke again. They have agreed to be your guardians. That word landed differently. Guardians. Amber stepped forward slightly. Only if you're comfortable with it, she said gently. You don't have to decide anything right away. Bobby looked at her. Then at Von. Then at Kiri. Then at Red. A lot had changed, too much. But his stomach growled again. Everyone paused. Then Von laughed. All right, decision later, food now. Even Bobby cracked a small smile. Okay. They stepped inside. The door closed behind them. And for the first time since he woke up, Bobby wasn't standing in a place that felt cold or empty. It wasn't home, not yet. But it was warm. And sometimes that's where home begins, warmth. That was the first thing Bobby noticed. The Velstar home felt different from the clinic, softer, lived in. The walls curved naturally with the tree it was built into, polished smooth, but still carrying the texture of living wood. Hanging lanterns cast a golden glow across the room, and a gentle breeze drifted through open windows, carrying the scent of the jungle. And underneath it all food. Bobby stood just inside the doorway, unsure what to do with his hands. Or his feet. Or anything really. Come in, Von said, waving him over. No standing around. Food gets cold, and I worked too hard for that. Kiri slipped past Bobby like she belonged there, because she did, and grabbed a seat at the table without hesitation. I'm first, she announced proudly. Red snorted. You're always first. Bobby hesitated. Amber noticed immediately. You can sit here, she said gently, pulling out a chair beside her. No pressure. Just try a little. Bobby nodded slowly. Okay. He sat. Carefully. Like the chair might disappear. The table was filled with things he didn't recognize. Sliced fruits in deep reds and bright oranges. Skewers of roasted meat glazed in something sweet and smoky. Flatbread-like rounds stacked neatly on one side. Small bowls of sauces, some thick, some thin, all unfamiliar. Bobby stared at it. What is all this? Kiri leaned in. Food. Bobby gave her a look. Thanks. She grinned. You're welcome. Von laughed from the other side of the table. All right, let's make this easy. This, he pointed to a skewer, is fireleaf roast. Closest thing we've got to your beef, from what I've heard. Bobby perked up slightly. Beef. Similar, Von said. Not the same, but close enough that you won't panic. That's comforting, Bobby muttered. Kiri grabbed one immediately and took a bite. Still hot. Red shook his head. You're going to burn your tongue one day. Worth it, she said through a mouthful. Bobby hesitated, then slowly reached for one. He took a bite, paused, chewed. Everyone watched him. Oh. Von leaned forward slightly. Good oh or bad oh? Bobby swallowed. Good oh. Von leaned back with a satisfied grin. I knew it. Kiri beamed. I told you it was good. Bobby took another bite. Bigger this time. Okay, yeah, this is really good. Something in the room shifted. Just a little. The tension eased. Amber smiled softly, watching him eat. You must have been starving. Bobby nodded between bites. I think I am. Then eat, she said gently. There's plenty. And he did. For a few minutes, there was nothing but the quiet sounds of eating. And small, comfortable chatter. Until Kiri leaned forward, elbows on the table. You're from space. Bobby blinked. I mean, yeah. What was it like? She asked immediately. Red sighed. Kiri, no, it's fine, Bobby said quickly. He paused, thinking. It was normal. Everyone looked at him. To me, he added. Kiri tilted her head. Was your home like this? No. Bobby glanced around. There weren't trees growing through the walls. Kiri gasped softly. That sounds terrible. Bobby huffed a quiet laugh. It kinda was. That earned a few smiles. Kiri leaned even closer now. What about your planet, Earth? Bobby slowed slightly. It had forests. A pause. But also cities, big ones. How big? She asked. Really big. Kiri's eyes sparkled. Bigger than Silverleaf. Bobby blinked. Way bigger. Her jaw dropped. No way. Way, he said. She leaned back, stunned. I need to see that someday. Bobby didn't answer right away. You can't. The mood dipped. Just slightly. Kiri noticed immediately. Oh. Bobby looked down at his food. It's gone. Silence crept in again. Not as heavy as before. But still there. Amber gently changed the subject. Try this, she said, offering a small slice of fruit. It's sweet. Bobby took it, thanks. He bit into it. His eyes widened. Okay, what is that? Kiri lit up again. Star melon. It's amazing. Vaughn chuckled, careful. Eat too much and you won't want anything else. Bobby grabbed another piece. Too late. Laughter. Real laughter this time. And just like that, the weight lifted again. After the meal, Bobby leaned back slightly. That was really good. Vaughn crossed his arms proudly. Of course it was. Amber smiled. I'm glad you liked it. Bobby nodded. Thank you. And he meant it. Kiri hopped up from her seat. Come on, I'll show you around. Red immediately stepped in. Not too far. Not too far, she echoed quickly, already moving. Bobby hesitated, then stood. Okay. They stepped outside. The village was brighter now. More active. Kiri walked beside him, hands behind her back. So, what do you think so far? Bobby looked around. The trees. The walkways. The people. It's nice. She smiled. I knew you'd like it. They walked in comfortable silence for a bit. Then a distant sound echoed through the jungle, low, deep. Unfamiliar. Bobby stopped. What was that? Kiri froze for just a second. Barely noticeable. Just a jungle animal, she said quickly. But her ears were tilted back. Bobby noticed. That didn't sound small. Kiri forced a small smile. It's not. A pause. But it doesn't come near the village, she added. Bobby looked out toward the dense jungle beyond the trees. Something about it felt different, quiet. Too quiet. You sure? Kiri nodded, yeah. But she didn't sound completely sure. Then she shook it off and grabbed his hand. Come on. I want to show you my favorite spot. Bobby blinked but didn't pull away. Okay. And as she pulled him along, the jungle watched, silent, waiting. The village felt different in motion. Bobby barely had time to take it all in, before Kiri was already pulling him along. This way. He stumbled slightly at first, still adjusting to the lighter gravity, but caught himself quickly. I think I'm getting used to this. Kiri glanced back at him, grinning. Good. Because I walk fast. I noticed. They moved along the elevated walkways, weaving between homes and branches. Below them, the forest floor stretched in patches of sunlight and shadow. Everywhere Bobby looked, there was life. Children running. Adults working. Voices carrying through the air. And occasionally, someone staring at him. Am I that obvious? He muttered. Kiri didn't even look back. Yep. Great. She slowed slightly, falling in a step beside him. Don't worry, she added. They're just curious. Bobby glanced at a pair of younger vulpine watching him from a distance. About the human. Kiri shook her head. About the Starboy. Bobby blinked. That's worse. Kiri laughed. It's kind of cool. I'm not sure I agree. They turned off the main path onto a narrower walkway that curved around a massive tree trunk. The sounds of the village faded slightly here, quieter. More peaceful. This is where I come when I want to think, Kiri said. Bobby followed her to a small open platform overlooking the jungle canopy. And stopped. Whoa. The view stretched endlessly, waves of green rolling out beneath a bright sky, distant hills barely visible through a light haze. Kiri watched his reaction, clearly pleased. Pretty right. Bobby nodded slowly. Yeah. A pause. You were right. She smiled. I usually am. They stood there for a moment, just looking. Then Bobby spoke again. So what do you do here? Kiri tilted her head. What do you mean? Like daily stuff, school, work. Oh, she said. Yeah, we have learning cycles. I go most days. Bobby blinked. You go to school in a tree village on an alien planet. Kiri grinned. When you say it like that, it sounds cooler. It is cooler. She nudged him lightly. You'll come with me when you're ready. Bobby hesitated. Maybe. Kiri noticed. Hey. He looked at her. You don't have to figure everything out today, she said. That landed. Bobby exhaled slowly. Thanks. A small silence settled between them. Not awkward. Just quiet. Then what's that? Bobby pointed to a thin cord tied around Kiri's wrist. A small carved bead hung from it, etched with faint patterns. Kiri looked down. Oh. She lifted her wrist slightly. This. Bobby nodded. It's from a ceremony, she said. What kind of ceremony? Kiri's expression softened slightly. A big one. She leaned back against the railing, thinking. When a vulpine turns 18, we have a coming-of-age ceremony. Bobby listened closely. There's this place, she continued, deep in the jungle, sacred. We don't go there unless it's for that. What happens? Kiri smiled faintly. We drink from a special spring. Bobby blinked. That's it. She laughed. It's not just water. What does it do? Kiri hesitated for a second, then said it simply. It gives us our full life. Bobby frowned slightly. I don't get it. Our people live a long time, she explained. 300 years on average. That got his attention. What? Kiri nodded. But only after the ceremony. Bobby stared at her. So before that. We grow normally, she said. But the ceremony, it completes something. Connects us to everything, I guess. Bobby leaned against the railing too, processing that. And you haven't done it yet. Kiri shook her head. Not for a while. A small grin crept onto her face. But when I do, it'll be amazing. Bobby glanced at her. Yeah. Sounds like it. She looked back at him. And for a brief moment, something thoughtful passed through her expression. Maybe, she said quietly, you'll see it someday. Bobby didn't answer right away. Maybe. The moment lingered. Then a sound cut through the air, low, deep, closer than before. Both of them froze. Bobby's head turned toward the jungle instantly. That again. Kiri's ears went back. Fully this time, yeah. The sound came again. A distant guttural rumble, not loud, but heavy. Bobby's instincts kicked in. That's not normal, is it? Kiri didn't answer immediately. No. That was all he needed to hear. He stepped slightly in front of her without thinking. Kiri blinked. What are you doing? I don't know, he admitted. But that thing doesn't sound friendly. For a split second, Kiri just stared at him. Then she smiled, small, real. You're weird. Thanks. Another rumble closer. This time, something moved in the trees far below. Branches shifting. Leaves scattering. Bobby tensed. Did you see that? Kiri grabbed his arm. Okay, new plan, we're going back. Good plan. They moved quickly along the walkway, the peaceful quiet from earlier now replaced with something tighter, watchful. Halfway back, they heard it again. And this time it sounded bigger. Bobby glanced back over his shoulder. That thing's moving. Kiri nodded. Yeah. Toward us. I don't know. They didn't stop moving. As the village came back into view, the sounds of normal life returned. Voices, movement, safety. And just like that, the tension broke. Kiri slowed slightly. It won't come this close. Bobby looked back one last time. The jungle stood still again, silent. But something about it didn't feel empty. Yeah, he said. Probably not. But he didn't sound convinced. Kiri noticed, hey. He looked at her. You did good, she said. Running away. She smiled. Staying with me. That caught him off guard. Oh. She bumped his shoulder lightly. Come on, Starboy. Let's get you back before my dad thinks you got eaten. Bobby huffed a small laugh. I'd like to avoid that. They walked back into the heart of Silverleaf together. And behind them, deep in the jungle, something watched, waiting. Morning in Silverleaf was louder than Bobby expected. Voices echoed between the trees. Footsteps thudded lightly across wooden walkways. Somewhere nearby, something metallic clinked rhythmically. It wasn't chaotic, but it wasn't quiet either. Bobby stood just outside the Velstar home, stretching slightly. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely not used to this yet. His body still felt off, lighter, faster. Like everything required less effort than it should. Behind him, the door slid open. Good morning. Bobby turned. Amber stepped out, carrying a small basket. Morning. She smiled softly. Sleep all right. He nodded. Better than I thought I would. A pause. Thank you for letting me stay. Amber's expression warmed just a little more. You're welcome, Bobby. She hesitated, just for a second, then gently adjusted the collar of his new clothes. You're part of the house while you're here. No need to thank us for that. Something about the way she said it stuck. Bobby nodded quietly. Okay. A voice called out from nearby, Bobby. He turned, just in time to see Kiri sprinting toward him at full speed. Oh no, too late. She slammed into him in a full running tackle and bounced off him. Kiri hit the ground with a surprised oof, rolling once before popping back up. Bobby didn't move. They both blinked. Did you just, Kiri started. Did you just bounce? Bobby replied a beat. Then Kiri burst out laughing. Okay, that was not supposed to happen. Bobby looked down at himself. I didn't even move. Amber covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. From across the walkway, Red watched with crossed arms. Told you. Kiri brushed herself off, still grinning. All right, Starboy, I think we found your thing. Being a wall. Being a strong wall. Bobby flexed his hand again, still not fully believing it. This is so weird. Kiri leaned in, eyes sparkling. It's awesome. Before he could respond, a couple of other kids approached. 2 vulpine boys and 1 girl, all around the same age, curious. Very curious. That's him, right? The human. The one from the sky. Bobby froze slightly. Kiri stepped in immediately. Yeah, this is Bobby. She pointed at each of them. This is Talo, Bren, and Sierra. Sierra tilted her head, studying him. You look normal. Thank you, Bobby said. Bren crossed his arms. You don't look strong. Kiri snorted. Oh, you're about to regret saying that. Bobby blinked. Wait, what? Too late. Talo pointed toward a nearby training post, a thick wooden pillar used for strength practice. Lift that. Bobby looked at it. Then back at them. That's not happening. Kiri folded her arms. Do it. Kiri, do it. Everyone was watching now. Bobby sighed. Fine. He walked over to the post. Gripped it. This is a bad idea. Then he lifted. The post came out of the ground, clean. Effortlessly. Everyone froze. Bobby stared at it in his hands. Oh. He quickly set it back down. Silence. Then what? No way. How did you? Kiri exploded into laughter. I told you. Bobby stepped back. I didn't even try. Red shook his head slowly. Earthborn. Amber just watched him. Something soft in her eyes. Something hopeful. Bren stepped closer, wide-eyed. Do it again. No. Sierra leaned in. Please. Still no. Kiri wiped a tear from her eye. This is the best day ever. Bobby rubbed the back of his neck. I don't think I'm supposed to be this strong. Red smirked slightly. You're not here. That got Bobby's attention. Oh. Before anyone could say more, a voice called out from the edge of the village. Red. Everyone turned. One of the hunters stood at the far end of the walkway, serious. Red's posture changed instantly. What is it? The hunter hesitated. Then spoke. We found tracks. Silence. Kiri's ears lowered slightly. What kind of tracks? Red asked. The hunter's expression darkened. Big ones. A pause. And fresh. That landed. Bobby looked between them. That's not good, is it? No one answered right away. Then Red said it plainly, no. Kiri glanced toward the jungle. The same direction as yesterday. It came closer. The hunter nodded. Closer than it should. A low tension settled over the group. Bobby felt it immediately. That same feeling from before. Something out there wasn't just passing through. It was moving in. Red turned back to the group. Inside paths only for now. No one goes near the outer walkways alone. The kids nodded quickly. Even Bren. Kiri looked at Bobby. Guess the jungle isn't as safe as I said. Bobby gave a small, uneasy smile. Yeah. A pause. Good thing I'm a wall, right? Kiri smirked. Yeah. Then softer, a really strong one. Bobby glanced at her. And this time he didn't look away. Somewhere beyond the trees something moved, watching, learning. And for the first time, it wasn't just curious. It was hunting. The village didn't relax after the news. It tightened. Bobby noticed it right away. More hunters on the walkways. More eyes on the tree line. Conversations that stopped when he got too close. Even the air felt different. Something's changed, he said quietly. Kiri, walking beside him, nodded. Yeah. They were heading toward a clearing just inside the safer edge of the village, a place used for training and practice. You're going to learn control, she added. Control of what? She gave him a look. You ripped a training post out of the ground yesterday. Fair. The clearing opened up ahead. Several thick posts, weighted stones, and wooden targets were arranged neatly across packed earth. Red stood waiting. Good, he said. You're here. Bobby hesitated slightly. This is about yesterday, isn't it? Red nodded. You're strong, he said plainly. Stronger than anyone your age here. A pause. Maybe stronger than most adults. Bobby shifted uncomfortably. I didn't ask for that. No, Red agreed. But you have it. Kiri leaned in. And if you don't learn it, you're going to break things. I already broke something. She grinned. Yeah, Bryn's pride. Bobby snorted despite himself. Red gestured toward a large, flat stone on the ground. Start with that. Bobby looked at it. You want me to lift it? I want you to try lifting it slowly, Red corrected. Okay. Bobby stepped forward. Bent down. Gripped the edges, slowly. He lifted. The stone shot up like it weighed nothing. Not slowly, Red said flatly. Bobby winced and quickly lowered it again. Okay, that's harder than it sounds. Kiri crossed her arms, smirking. You're too used to not trying. I am trying. No, she said. You're guessing. That made him pause. Then what do I do? Red stepped closer. Feel it, he said. Feel what? The weight. The resistance. Don't just move it, understand it. Bobby frowned slightly. Then nodded. He tried again. This time slower. The stone rose gradually, steady. Controlled. Kiri's ears perked. Hey, there you go. Bobby held it there for a second. Then gently set it back down. Okay. Red gave a small nod. Better. Something about that felt good. They kept going, lifting. Balancing. Throwing small objects with control instead of force. At one point, Bobby picked up a stick. This seems easy. He tossed it lightly toward a target. The stick cracked against it with a loud snap, embedding halfway into the wood. Everyone stared. That was light, Bobby said. Kiri burst out laughing. You're going to accidentally win every fight you ever get into. That doesn't sound comforting. Red allowed himself the smallest hint of a smile. For a while it felt normal. Until a horn sounded, short, sharp. Everyone froze. Red turned instantly toward the edge of the clearing. Inside, now. Kiri grabbed Bobby's arm. Move. They didn't argue. As they moved back toward the village center, Bobby noticed it again, that feeling. Eyes, watching. Then movement. Just beyond the tree line, fast, low. Bobby turned his head. Did you see that? Kiri didn't slow down. Don't stop. I think it's, a shape moved again. Larger this time. For a split second Bobby saw it, 6 legs. Low to the ground, massive. Then it vanished. That's not normal, he said. No, Kiri replied quietly. They reached the inner walkways. The horn stopped. But the tension didn't. Red spoke quickly with another hunter nearby. It's testing the edge, the hunter said. It's getting closer. Red's jaw tightened. We'll increase patrols. Bobby stood there, heart still racing. That thing is big. Kiri nodded, yeah. A pause. And it saw us. Bobby looked at her, yeah. Neither of them liked that. Later things calmed. At least on the surface. Bobby sat outside the Velstar home again, quieter now. More thoughtful. Amber stepped out and sat beside him. You did well today, she said. He shrugged slightly. I almost threw a stick through someone. She smiled softly. But you didn't. A pause. Are you scared? she asked gently. Bobby thought about it. A little. That was honest. Amber nodded. That's okay. Silence settled between them. Comfortable. You don't have to be strong all the time, she added. Bobby looked at her. Kinda feels like I do. Amber's gaze softened. You don't. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to say more. Her hand rested lightly on the bench between them, close, but not quite reaching. You're still just a kid, she said quietly. That word again, kid. Bobby looked down. I don't feel like one. Amber's voice was gentle. You don't have to feel like one to still be cared for like one. That landed deeper than he expected. He didn't respond, but he didn't pull away either. From inside, Vaughn called out, "Food's ready." Amber smiled slightly. Perfect timing. She stood, then paused. Bobby. He looked up. We're really glad you're here. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Just truth. Bobby blinked, thanks. She nodded, then went inside. Bobby sat there for a moment longer, thinking. Then slowly stood and followed. Behind him, deep in the jungle, the predator moved again, closer. More certain. It had seen the boy. And it had learned something important. This prey was different. Night fell over Silverleaf like a soft curtain. Lanterns flickered in the branches, casting golden light across the village, but beyond the walkways the jungle waited, thick, silent, watching. Bobby walked alongside Kiri toward the watch platform at the village edge. The training today had left him tired but alert. Every muscle in his body hummed with strength and energy he barely understood. I still can't believe I lifted that post, he muttered. Kiri snorted. You didn't just lift it. You tossed it. Everyone saw. Bobby rubbed the back of his neck. I don't even feel it. You're earthborn, she said. Gravity there was softer. You've got advantages we'll never have. Just learn to use it right. They reached the wooden platform, overlooking the jungle canopy. The wind teased the leaves, and the distant calls of nocturnal animals punctuated the night. Red joined them silently, watching over the village with practiced vigilance. We saw tracks again, he said quietly. Closer this time, larger. Something's testing our perimeter. Bobby swallowed. It's the thing from the clearing, isn't it? Kiri's ears twitched. Yeah. I think it's not just curious anymore. They sat down on the platform edge. Bobby's legs dangled over the side. So what happens if it comes closer? He asked. Red shook his head. We prepare patrols. Watch shifts. No one outside alone at night. I'll help, Bobby said immediately. Kiri glanced at him. You're serious? Yeah, he replied. I don't want anyone getting hurt. There was a softness in Amber's voice as she approached from below the platform. Bobby, you're still a kid, she said gently. But I know you've been through things most people can't even imagine. Just take care of yourself, too. He looked up at her, words catching in his throat. Thanks, really. Amber's gaze lingered. There was something unspoken in her eyes, a mixture of pride, worry, and pain. A quiet reminder of what she couldn't have, and what she hoped to give Bobby in this new life. Kiri leaned closer. You ever think about before? Bobby's eyes flicked toward her, curious. Before what? Before now. Before all this, she said softly. Your family. Your home. Everything. He hesitated, the memories of his aunt and uncle surfacing faintly through the 1,200 years of cryo-sleep. I think about them sometimes, he admitted. I don't remember everything, but I know they were important. And I miss them. Kiri's ears flattened slightly. I get that. I've lost people too. But here, maybe we can make something new. Bobby nodded, yeah. I think I want that. A sudden rustle in the leaves below froze them both. Did you hear that? Bobby whispered. Kiri's tail flicked. Yeah. Too close. Bobby stood, muscles tensing. I should check it out. Kiri grabbed his arm. No, wait. The rustle grew louder, branches snapping. Something heavy moved through the underbrush. It's big, Bobby muttered. Really big. Red stepped up behind them. Stay calm. Watch and report. Don't approach. If it comes closer, we alert the village. Through the dim moonlight, Bobby caught a glimpse of a low, shadowy shape slipping between the trees. 6 legs. Muscles rippling. Horn glinting faintly. The predator. Kiri shivered. It's closer than last time. Bobby swallowed hard. It's watching. They stayed still, silent. Listening. The predator didn't make a sound, but every instinct Bobby had told him it was learning, studying, calculating. I don't like this, he whispered. Kiri's tail twitched. Neither do I. Hours passed. The predator never attacked, never came fully into view, but its presence was enough to make the night heavy. Finally, Red called them down. It won't be the last time you see it. Just be ready. Bobby followed Kiri down the platform, muscles coiled with tension. When they reached the Velstar home, Amber was waiting with a small tray of warm fruit and melon juice. You were gone for a while, she said softly, studying him. Did everything go okay? Yeah, he said, still breathing heavily. It's alive. Amber's eyes softened. I know. A long pause. Outside, the jungle whispered. The predator moved through the underbrush again, closer than before. Its eyes glinted. Its muscles coiled. It had learned one thing tonight. The boy in the clearing was different, stronger, smarter. Dangerous. And soon it would come for him. The night had barely settled over Silverleaf when the first whispers began. Tracks, one of the hunters said, voice low. Closer than before, Red added, studying the disturbed leaves at the village edge. Keep watch. Nothing leaves alone tonight. Bobby and Kiri had volunteered, eager to help, eager to prove themselves. Their training today had been exhausting, but the adrenaline of patrol kept their muscles tense, ready. The walkways were quiet, save for the soft hum of nocturnal insects. Lanterns swung lightly in the breeze, casting trembling shadows along the paths. Bobby's hands brushed against the rail. I still can't believe I'm helping patrol at night, he whispered. Kiri smirked. Yeah, but it's safer than running into a 6-legged nightmare blindly. Bobby shivered at the memory of the predator's last shadow among the trees. Not sure which is scarier, the beast or not knowing what it's thinking. Kiri's ears twitched, both. Keep your eyes open. A rustle. Bobby froze. Kiri stopped. The sound came again, closer, deliberate. Branches snapped. Leaves rattled. Then out of the moonlight, a low growl rolled through the jungle. Bobby's heart thudded. It's here. Kiri's tail stiffened. Stay calm. Don't make sudden movements. The predator stepped into the clearing of moonlight, 6 legs gliding with unnerving precision. Its horns glinted faintly. Its eyes, intelligent, calculating, fixed on them. It wasn't just a beast. It was a hunter, Bobby. Kiri hissed. Get behind me. He moved instinctively. His earthborn reflexes were lightning fast. Muscles coiled and tensed, ready to act. The predator lunged. Bobby reacted. He grabbed a hanging vine. Swinging low, he knocked a wooden post in the predator's path. It staggered, slipping slightly. Kiri gasped, whoa. Bobby landed lightly, barely bending his knees. He could feel the predator adjusting, learning. Calculating again. It's smarter than an animal, he muttered under his breath. I need to be smarter too. The predator circled, low to the ground, stalking toward a younger villager moving along a walkway below. Bobby's eyes narrowed. Not today. He leapt. Not high, too high could throw him off, but precise. One hand grabbed a dangling rope, the other scooped a heavy vine coil from the ground. With a grunt, he swung into the predator's path, wrapping the vine around one of its legs as it lunged again. The creature yelped, a sharp, frustrated sound, and crashed into the trees, shaking loose branches. Red's voice echoed from above, "Careful, Bobby." Bobby twisted the vine, slowing the predator's movement without hurting it too badly. Control, not strength, he reminded himself. The predator paused, snarling, trying to untangle itself. Bobby crouched low, watching, waiting. Then carefully, he released the vine. The predator didn't flee. It studied him, tail flicking, muscles coiled. It backed slowly into the trees, then disappeared into the shadows. Kiri exhaled. That was insane. Bobby's chest heaved. It almost got him, almost got someone. Red appeared on the walkway above, eyes serious but proud. Good work. You didn't just react, you controlled your strength. That could have gone very badly. Bobby blinked. Really? Really, Red confirmed. You saved a life tonight. And you learned control under pressure. The village rallied quickly. Hunters and elders moved to reinforce walkways, check for tracks, and ensure everyone was accounted for. The predator hadn't attacked further, but everyone knew it had been testing them. Bobby felt every eye on him as Amber and Vaughn arrived. "Bobby," Amber said softly, rushing forward. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," he said, brushing leaves from his hair. "I think," then without thinking he said it, "Mom, Dad." Amber froze. Her ears twitched, eyes wide. Vaughn stopped mid-step, holding a lantern, jaw dropping. He said that?" Vaughn asked softly, voice thick. Bobby nodded. I mean it. You've taken care of me, and I want to call you that." Amber's lips quivered. "Bobby," Vaughn reached out, resting a hand on Bobby's shoulder. "We were honored. You don't have to be anyone else but yourself." Bobby's cheeks burned slightly, but he smiled. "Thanks." Amber hugged him tightly. "We love you, Bobby." For a moment, the fear, the adrenaline, the predator, it all faded into warmth. Later, after patrols and discussions with Red, Bobby sat with Kiri on the quiet edge of the village. "That was intense," she said softly. Bobby nodded. "Yeah. I never thought I'd be saving someone." Kiri nudged him lightly with her shoulder. "You're not just saving people, you're learning to be you. And that's kind of amazing." Bobby smiled faintly, a little embarrassed, but it felt good. "Thanks, Kiri, for watching out." She reached over, nudging his hand gently. "Always." Beyond the village, in the shadows of the jungle, the predator slinked among the trees. It had learned something tonight, too. The boy from the stars was dangerous. And it would return. 5 years had passed in Silverleaf, but to Bobby, it felt like the village had grown around him overnight. The jungle had become familiar, every whisper of leaves a language he now understood, every pathway a map in his mind. Kiri walked alongside him, her fox ears twitching as they passed the edge of the village. She had grown taller, stronger, and sharper in her reflexes over the years. She moved with the grace of a hunter who had learned every rhythm of the jungle. "I still can't believe it's been 5 years, Bobby said, adjusting the straps on his pack. "Feels like yesterday we were dodging that first predator." Kiri glanced at him, a teasing smirk on her face. "You mean yesterday when you swung from a vine and made it look like a circus act?" Bobby chuckled, though his eyes were serious. "That thing was smart. It's still out there." "Yeah." Her tone softened. "And it's learning." Vaughn met them at the edge of the village, carrying a small toolkit and a rolled-up blueprint. "Bobby, time to see if you can do more than lift things," he said, voice warm but firm. I've got a friend in the next settlement. He's an engineer specializing in advanced systems, things you might have seen in the dragon's wisdom. I think it's time you start learning some real tech. Bobby's eyes widened. Advanced systems? You mean like spaceship stuff? Vaughn chuckled. Close enough. Control systems, energy conduits, even some basic defensive tech. You've got the strength and reflexes. Now it's time for the brain part. Kiri's eyes sparkled. Finally, someone who can teach you stuff that won't get you into trouble, hopefully. Bobby smirked. We'll see. The journey to the engineer's settlement was uneventful, but the air always carried a sense of tension. Tracks from the predator were spotted along the way. Broken branches, flattened underbrush, the faint gleam of its horn catching moonlight even from a distance. Bobby's muscles tensed automatically. It's close. Kiri nodded. Always close. Always watching. The engineer, a wiry foxman named Talvin, welcomed them with a mix of curiosity and respect. Vaughn's boy, eh? Heard about you. Strong kid. Bobby smiled faintly. I try. Talvin led him to a workshop filled with tools, half-finished projects, and the faint hum of stored energy cores. We'll start with stabilizers and conduits, Talvin said, demonstrating a compact energy grid. If you can master this, controlling traps and defenses won't be a problem. You'll learn precision, like how you controlled yourself against the predator before. Strength and mind together. Meanwhile, back in Silverleaf, Red and the elders monitored the jungle's edge more closely than ever. The predator had grown bolder, venturing nearer to the village at night. Each sighting left tracks that showed intelligence, strategy, and patience. It's learning, Red said, pointing to flattened foliage where the predator had crouched and waited. It's studying us. Next time it might strike. Amber's gaze softened as she watched Bobby from a distance. He's ready, she whispered to Vaughn. But he's still just a boy in many ways. Vaughn's tail flicked, tension evident. The strength alone won't save him. But training his mind, we can give him a chance. Bobby returned from Talvin's workshop each day exhausted, yet invigorated. He showed Kiri what he had learned: miniature energy grids, basic automated traps, and clever ways to defend without brute force alone. You've really gotten good at this, Kiri said, examining a small training target rigged to pop a signal flag when hit. With this and your strength, you're practically unstoppable. Bobby smiled but frowned. It's not enough. That predator, it's still out there. And it's not a mindless animal. It's learning too. Kiri's tail flicked. Then we learn faster, together. One night, as the sun dipped behind the dense jungle, Bobby and Kiri stood on a watch platform overlooking the village. It's moving again, Kiri whispered, pointing to a faint shape slipping through the underbrush. 6 legs, low, deliberate. The predator. Bobby's jaw tightened. It's coming closer every year. We'll be ready next time. We have to. Red's voice echoed through the village. All patrols increase. Defensive positions ready. This isn't a drill. Bobby glanced at Kiri. You ready? Kiri's ears twitched, always. The predator paused at the tree line, its glowing eyes studying the village like a chessboard. It had learned patience, strategy. The boy from the stars had survived once, but next time the stakes would be higher. And Silverleaf would be ready. The jungle was alive with the hum of nocturnal creatures, but tonight, an unnatural tension thrummed beneath the leaves. Bobby and Kiri were on patrol along the edge of Silverleaf, lanterns swinging gently in the night breeze. Something's different, Kiri murmured, ears swiveling. It's closer than ever. Bobby's fingers brushed the hilt of the hunting knife Vaughn had given him earlier that day. I know, he said quietly. And I've got a feeling it's coming for you. Kiri stiffened. Bobby, I'll protect you, he said, eyes narrowing. Trust me. The first movement was subtle, a low ripple through the underbrush. Then came the glint of horned eyes, reflecting moonlight. 6 legs gliding silently, muscles coiled, tail flicking. The predator had arrived. Kiri froze. Bobby. Behind me. Bobby reacted instinctively. His earthborn strength launched him forward. Vines, trees, and uneven ground were no challenge. He moved like a shadow, positioning himself between Kiri and the predator. The beast leapt. The fight was chaos. Bobby ducked under its horns, rolled, and grabbed a low-hanging branch, swinging himself onto the predator's back for a brief instant. He pressed the hunting knife Vaughn had entrusted him with, the blade designed for precision, sharp and durable, against its thick hide. The predator howled, thrashing wildly, but Bobby held on, calculating every move. A misstep could mean death, but he remembered every lesson: control, precision, patience. He waited, lunged at the perfect moment, and plunged the knife into a vulnerable spot beneath the shoulder. A final roar, a flail of massive legs, and then silence. Bobby landed lightly on the ground, breathing hard. Kiri ran to his side, her tail flicking nervously. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," he said, wiping sweat and grime from his brow. "It's over." He reached down, hoisted the predator onto his shoulder with ease. The full weight of the beast barely fazed him. Kiri's eyes widened. "You're incredible." Bobby's chest heaved, adrenaline coursing through him. "Come on. Let's take it to Red." By the time they reached the village, the word had already spread. Villagers gathered, whispers of awe and fear mixing in the cool night air. Bobby set the predator down in front of Red. "Can you make this into a fur rug for my mom, Amber?" he said, nodding toward the Velstar home. "And the head you can keep as a trophy. If the meat's good, we can make a community stew, and Vaughn can cook it." Red's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and pride. Bobby that was brave. And smart. Amber appeared behind him, eyes shining. "Bobby. You did it," her tail wrapped lightly around her waist, emotion tightening her voice. "You saved Kiri and the village." Vaughn stepped forward, placing a hand on Bobby's shoulder. "I gave you that knife, but you made it count. I'm proud of you, son." Bobby's cheeks flushed. "Thanks, Mom, Dad." Kiri's ears twitched as she approached, smiling softly. "I knew you'd be the one to do it." I'm glad it was you." The villagers rallied together. Some carried the predator to the preparation area. Vaughn began organizing the stew, mixing roots, vegetables, and wild spices with the predator's meat. Children watched in awe, elders nodded with approval, and Red set to work preparing the fur for Amber's rug and the head for display. That night the village feasted. Bobby sat beside Kiri, Amber, and Vaughn, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known, even in centuries of sleep. He had survived, protected, and become part of a community that loved him. Outside, the jungle whispered, but the predator threat had been neutralized for now. Bobby's mind, however, was already racing. If this one had been smart, what would the next be like? He glanced at Kiri and smiled faintly. "We'll be ready." Kiri nodded, her hand brushing his. Together. And for the first time since leaving Earth, Bobby felt that maybe he really was home. 5 years had passed since the predator fell. Silverleaf no longer felt like a place Bobby was staying. It was home. At 15, Bobby had grown taller, broader in the shoulders, and far more confident in his movements. His earth-born strength had settled into something controlled, precise instead of overwhelming. Kiri had changed too. She moved like the jungle itself now, quick, graceful, alert. Her tail flowed behind her with every step, and her ears flicked constantly, catching sounds Bobby still missed. "Bobby, you're too close to the edge again," Kiri said, balancing easily along the railing of a high walkway. Bobby smirked, stepping even closer just to prove a point. "I've got it under control." Kiri gave him a look. You say that every time. And I've never fallen. She leaned toward him slightly, a teasing smile forming. Yet. Bobby tilted his head. You planning on changing that? Her tail flicked once, maybe. You push me, I'm grabbing your tail on the way down. Kiri froze for half a second, then her face turned bright red. You would not. Bobby grinned, try me. She crossed her arms, clearly flustered but trying to hide it. You're impossible. And you still hang out with me. Kiri looked away for a moment, her voice quieter now. Yeah, I do. The moment lingered. Then she bumped his shoulder. Come on, engineer boy. Don't want to keep Talvin waiting. Talvin's workshop buzzed with energy. Literally. Small power cores hummed on work tables. Coils of wiring hung from racks. Half-built devices blinked with faint blue light. To Bobby, it was amazing. Talvin tossed him a toolkit. Today we stopped thinking small. Bobby caught it easily. I like the sound of that. Vaughn leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, watching with quiet pride. Show him what you've been working on. Bobby nodded and stepped forward, placing a compact device on the table. Motion-triggered pulse emitter, he explained. It detects large mass movement and releases a non-lethal shockwave, strong enough to scare off predators without hurting them. Talvin raised an eyebrow. You built this? With some help, Bobby admitted. Vaughn smirked. He did most of it. Talvin turned the device over in his hands. This could protect entire settlements. Bobby's eyes lit up. That's the idea. Set them along the perimeter, link them together, and you've got a barrier system. Talvin looked impressed. Kid, this isn't just clever. A pause. This is valuable. Vaughn chuckled. Told you. Might even turn into a trade system. Other villages would want this. Bobby rubbed the back of his neck. A cash cow, right? Talvin grinned. Exactly. Later that evening, Bobby and Kiri walked back through Silverleaf. Lantern light flickered across the pathways, and the jungle hummed softly beyond the trees. Kiri glanced at him. So you're basically going to make it so nothing scary ever gets near the village again. Bobby shrugged. That's the goal. That's kind of amazing, she said. He looked at her. Kind of. She smiled. Okay, very amazing. He laughed quietly, thanks. They slowed near the edge of the village, where Bobby had started installing his first real barrier prototypes. Small devices carefully placed. Hidden but ready. This one's active, Bobby said, pointing to a node near the base of a tree. If something big comes through here, it'll trigger. Kiri stepped closer, her tail brushing lightly against his arm. You really thought this through. Bobby felt that, and tried not to react too obviously. Yeah, I guess I did. She looked up at him. You always do. That hit harder than expected. I just don't want anyone getting hurt, he said quietly. Kiri's voice softened. You won't let that happen. Bobby met her eyes. Not if I can help it. They stood there for a moment. Closer than usual. Then, you've been coming by my place a lot more lately, Kiri said casually. Your dad likes my repairs, Bobby replied. My mom likes you, she added. Bobby blinked. Wait, what? Kiri smirked. You heard me. Is that a good thing? She stepped a little closer. Yeah. A pause. It is. Bobby smiled faintly. Good. Kiri looked away for a second, then back. You know, when we're older, he tilted his head. Yeah. She hesitated just slightly. Never mind. You know what? She shook her head, smiling again. You'll figure it out. Bobby narrowed his eyes. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, she shot back playfully. You're impossible. And you still hang out with me. Yeah, he said, a beat. I do. The jungle breeze passed between them, warm, quiet. And for the first time, it didn't feel uncertain. It felt like the beginning of something. Behind them, Bobby's barrier system hummed softly to life. Invisible. Protective. A future being built, piece by piece. The jungle didn't stay quiet for long. It never did. It started just after dusk. Bobby was crouched near one of his perimeter nodes, adjusting a conduit line while Kiri leaned against a nearby tree, watching him with a small, amused smile. "You've been working on that one for 10 minutes, she said. "Precision takes time," Bobby replied without looking up. "Or you're just stalling because I'm watching." He paused, then glanced up at her. "You're definitely not helping." Kiri grinned, her tail swaying lazily behind her. "Good." Before Bobby could respond, a low hum pulsed through the ground. Both of them froze. "You feel that?" Kiri whispered. Bobby's head snapped toward the jungle. "Yeah." Then thump. Something hit the outer perimeter. One of the barrier nodes flared to life, faint blue light rippling outward in a curved wave through the trees. A loud snarl followed. Kiri's ears went back instantly. "That's not small." Bobby stood, heart kicking into high gear. "Stay behind me." "Not happening," she shot back, already moving beside him. They reached the outer walkway just as another impact hit. Thump. This time they saw it. A large, four-legged predator, different from the one Bobby had killed years ago, but still dangerous, slammed against the invisible barrier. The field shimmered, held. The creature snarled, pacing, testing. "It's working," Kiri said, eyes wide. "Yeah," Bobby breathed. The predator lunged again, flash. The barrier discharged a controlled pulse. The creature yelped, stumbling back into the underbrush. Silence. Then it retreated, gone. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Kiri turned to him, eyes shining. "You did that." Bobby blinked. "We did that." She stepped closer. "No, you did that." By now others had arrived. Red, Vaughn, Amber. Several hunters. "What happened?" Red asked. Bobby pointed to the perimeter. Barrier system triggered. Repelled it before it got close. Red walked to the edge, inspecting the faint glow of the still active nodes. "No breach," he said, a pause. Then he looked back at Bobby. "Impressive." Coming from Red, that meant something. Vaughn crossed his arms, clearly trying not to grin too much. "Told you he'd figure it out." Amber stepped closer to Bobby, her eyes soft with pride. "You protected everyone." Bobby rubbed the back of his neck. "That's the plan." Behind them, villagers began murmuring. Word spread fast. "The human built that. It stopped a predator." "We're safer now." Kiri leaned closer to Bobby, lowering her voice. "You're kind of a big deal now." "Please don't say it like that." She smirked. Too late. Later that evening, things had calmed. Bobby found himself at Kiri's home, sitting across from Red and Belle at the table. "Which was new?" "So," Belle said casually, pouring drinks, "you're the one who built the barrier." Bobby nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "And you plan to expand it?" "Yes, ma'am." Red leaned back slightly, studying him. "And you intend to keep protecting this village?" Bobby didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." A pause. Then Belle smiled. "Good." Red's tail flicked once. "Very good." Kiri, sitting beside Bobby, looked between her parents and then at him, slowly. Suspiciously. "What is happening right now?" she asked. Belle waved a hand. "Nothing." Red nodded. "Nothing at all." Bobby blinked. "I feel like it's not nothing." Kiri leaned closer to him, whispering. "They like you." "I gathered that." "A lot." Bobby glanced at her. "Is that good?" She smirked, "Very." After dinner, Kiri pulled Bobby outside. Okay, that was weird, she said. A little. They never act like that. Bobby shrugged. Maybe they're just impressed with the barrier. Kiri gave him a look. Yeah, that's definitely all it is. You're not convincing me. She stepped closer. Closer than usual. Good. Bobby's heart picked up slightly. You're doing that on purpose. Maybe. Why? She smiled softly. Because I can. A pause. And because I like seeing you flustered. Bobby huffed a quiet laugh. You're impossible. And you still stay. Yeah, he said again, I do. Her tail brushed his arm again. This time he didn't ignore it. You know, she said quietly, in a few years Bobby looked at her. Yeah. She hesitated. Then smiled. You'll figure it out. He groaned. You said that last time. She laughed, turning away. And I'll say it again. Behind them, the barrier system pulsed softly in the night. A line of invisible protection. A promise. And inside the village, something else was growing. Not just safety. Not just strength. But something deeper. Something neither of them fully understood yet, but were getting closer to every day. The village was quiet. Not silent, just calm. Bobby sat on the high overlook platform, the same one Kiri had shown him years ago. The view hadn't changed, but he had. He leaned forward slightly, resting his arms on the railing. 15, he muttered to himself. How did that happen? Time. He didn't need to turn around. He already knew. You always show up when I'm thinking too much, he said. Kiri walked up beside him, stepping onto the railing like it was second nature. Someone has to keep you from overloading that brain of yours. It's a good brain. A debatable. He smirked, rude. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. That caught his attention. Hey, he said, softer now. You okay? Kiri didn't answer right away. She looked out over the jungle. The same endless sea of green. Do you ever think about leaving? She asked quietly. Bobby blinked. Leaving? Yeah. Like going somewhere else. Seeing more than this. He thought about it, Earth, the ship. Everything he lost. I used to, he said. Kiri glanced at him. Used to. He nodded. Before all this, I didn't have a choice. I was going somewhere far away, whether I wanted to or not. A pause now. He looked at her. Now I do. She held his gaze, and he didn't look away. I don't want to leave. Kiri's ears twitched slightly. Why? Bobby exhaled slowly. Because this is home. A beat. Because of Mom and Dad. Another. Because of the village. And then because of you. Silence. Real silence. Kiri froze. Just for a second, me. She asked softly. Bobby nodded, yeah. His voice was steady, but quieter than usual. When I woke up, I lost everything. Kiri's expression softened. But then I found you. That landed hard. Kiri looked away, her tail curling slightly around her leg. You're not allowed to say things like that so casually, she muttered. Why not? She glanced back at him. Because they matter. Bobby swallowed, I know. A long pause. The air between them felt different. Kiri stepped down from the railing. Closer now. You really mean that? She asked, yeah. No hesitation. Kiri's heart was clearly racing. He could see it in the way her ears flicked, the way her tail moved. You're really bad at warning someone before saying something like that, she said. I didn't plan it. Clearly. But she smiled. A soft one, good. Bobby stepped a little closer, good. She nodded, yeah. They were close now. closer than they'd ever been. Neither of them moved away. "You're important to me too," she said quietly. Bobby's chest tightened slightly. "Yeah." She nodded again. "Yeah." Their eyes met. Neither looked away. Slowly, almost without thinking, they leaned closer. Just a little. Then a little more. Close enough to feel each other's breath. Bobby's heart was pounding. Kiri's ears tilted slightly back. Her eyes softened. They paused. Right there. Right before, a branch snapped loudly somewhere below. Both of them jumped apart instantly. "Wow, that timing is terrible," Bobby muttered. Kiri covered her face for a second. "I'm going to pretend that didn't just happen." A beat. "But it did," he added. She peeked at him through her fingers. "Yes, it did." They both laughed. A little awkward. A little nervous. But something had changed. Something real. Kiri stepped back slightly, but not far. "We should probably head back," she said. "Yeah." They didn't move right away. "Next time," Bobby said. Kiri tilted her head. "Next time what?" He smiled slightly. "We don't let a branch ruin it." Kiri froze, then turned bright red again. "You're getting bold." "Learning." She turned away quickly, trying to hide her smile. "Good." They started walking back toward the village together. Closer than before. Not quite holding hands. But not far from it either. Behind them, the jungle whispered. But this time, it wasn't danger they were thinking about. It was something else entirely. Something new. Something just beginning. The village was not subtle at all. Bobby noticed it first at breakfast. "Why are there only 2 seats at the table?" he asked, looking between Amber and Vaughn. Amber smiled innocently. "Oh. Is that a problem? There are usually 4. Vaughn shrugged. "We thought we'd eat later." Bobby narrowed his eyes slightly. "You never eat later." Amber waved a hand. "Things change." From outside, Bobby. He didn't even need to guess. "Right on time," Vaughn muttered under his breath. Bobby turned toward the door slowly. "You planned this." Amber smiled sweetly. "Eat your breakfast." A few minutes later, Bobby stepped outside. Kiri was already there, leaning against the railing like she owned the place. "Your parents' stall you or mine?" she asked. "Mine," he replied. "Yours too." She nodded. "Yeah." Mom suddenly needed help with nothing. They both paused. "They're doing this on purpose," Bobby said. "Definitely." Another pause. "We're still going, right?" she asked. Bobby nodded. "Yeah." "Good." They didn't go far. Just the overlook. "Of course. We keep ending up here," Bobby said. Kiri shrugged lightly. "It's a good spot." "Yeah." A quiet moment passed. Not awkward. Just charged. They both remembered. "Last time." "So," Kiri said, not looking at him. "No branches today." Bobby glanced around dramatically. "I don't see any." "Good." Silence again. Then, "About yesterday," Bobby started. "Yeah," she said quickly. They both stopped. "You go," he said. "No, you go." "Okay." He took a breath. "I meant what I said." Kiri looked at him now, fully. "About you," he added. Her ears tilted slightly back. Not nervous, just focused. "I know," she said softly. A step closer. "And I meant what I said too." Now it was his turn to go quiet. "You're important to me," she continued. "More than anyone else here." That hit. "Same," he said. They were close again now. Just like before. But this time, they didn't hesitate as long. Kiri reached out first. Her hand brushed his. Then stayed. Bobby looked down at it, then back at her. "You're doing that on purpose," he said quietly. "Yes." A small smile. Good." He stepped closer. No interruption. No sudden noise. Just the two of them. "So," he said softly. "Next time, right?" Kiri's lips curved slightly. "Next time." And then they closed the distance. It wasn't rushed. Wasn't perfect. Just real. A soft, slightly awkward, very real first kiss. For a second, everything else disappeared. No jungle. No village, no past. Just that moment. Then they pulled back slightly. Kiri blinked. "Okay," she said. "That was, yeah," Bobby said. They both laughed quietly. "We're not good at this yet," she added. "We'll get better." She raised an eyebrow. "Confident." "I learn fast." Kiri smiled. "A real one, good." They didn't move apart much. Didn't need to. "So what now?" Bobby asked. Kiri shrugged slightly. "Now, we pretend our parents aren't going to figure this out immediately. They already have." "Yeah." A pause. "My dad is going to have a talk with you," she added. Bobby winced. "I was afraid of that." "Don't worry," she said, nudging him. "He already likes you. That somehow makes it worse." She laughed. "You'll be fine." They walked back together. Closer than before. This time, their hands brushed again. And didn't pull away. From a nearby walkway, Amber, Vaughn, Red, and Belle all stood very casually pretending not to watch. "I told you," Belle whispered. "I know," Red muttered, arms crossed but clearly satisfied. Vaughn smirked. "Took them long enough." Amber smiled softly. "They are good together." Red nodded once. "When the time comes," Belle finished the thought. "He'll ask." Vaughn crossed his arms proudly. "And we'll say yes." Amber's eyes softened. "Of course we will." Down below, Bobby glanced at Kiri. "Your parents are watching us, aren't they?" "Yep." "Mine too." "Probably." "Should we be worried?" Kiri squeezed his hand slightly. "Not even a little." Bobby smiled. Good." They kept walking together. No more almosts. Time didn't rush in Silverleaf. It flowed. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And somehow, without either of them noticing exactly when it happened, Bobby and Kiri stopped being almost. Now they just were. It showed in the little things. Walking side by side became walking together. Hands brushing turned into hands held. Teasing turned softer, quieter, closer. "You're staring again," Kiri said one afternoon, not even looking at him. "I'm not." "You are." "Maybe a little." She smirked, tail flicking lightly behind her. "You're getting worse. You're not helping." "Good." But she didn't pull her hand away. Bobby's barrier systems expanded across Silverleaf. What started as a few nodes became a full perimeter network, quiet, efficient, and reliable. Other nearby villages began visiting, watching, asking questions. "You built all this?" one hunter asked, staring at the glowing perimeter line. Bobby nodded. "Yeah. It keeps predators out without hurting them." The hunter looked impressed. "You could trade this. Every settlement would want it." Vaughn crossed his arms proudly. Told him the same thing. Bobby scratched the back of his neck. Still working out the details. But word spread fast. The boy from the stars wasn't just strong anymore. He was valuable. That made Red notice something else. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Bobby found himself standing at the edge of the village alone. "You've been spending a lot of time with my daughter." Bobby didn't jump. But he did straighten. "Yes, sir." Red stepped beside him, arms crossed. "Watching the jungle." "You protect her." I try to. You respect her. Always. A pause. Red glanced at him. And you care about her. Bobby didn't hesitate. Yes, sir. Silence again. Then, good. Bobby blinked, good. Red nodded once. Because if you didn't, we'd be having a very different conversation. Bobby swallowed. Understood. Red's expression softened, just slightly. You're a good young man, Bobby. That meant more than Bobby expected. Thank you, sir. Red looked back toward the village. In a few years, things will change. Bobby nodded slowly. The ceremony, yes. Another pause. When that time comes, Red's voice lowered slightly. You'll come to me first. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir, Bobby said. Red gave a small nod. Good. And just like that, the conversation was over. But everything had changed. Later that night, Bobby found Kiri waiting for him near the overlook. You look like you just survived something, she said. Your dad. She immediately perked up. Oh no. Oh yes. Kiri stepped closer. What did he say? Bobby hesitated. He didn't threaten me. That's good. But I feel like that was optional. Kiri laughed. That sounds like him. Bobby looked at her. He told me when the time comes, I have to ask him first. Kiri froze. Just slightly, oh. A quiet moment, and she asked. Bobby met her eyes. I will. That landed. Kiri's tail slowed. Her expression softened. You really mean that, she said. Yeah. He stepped closer. I don't rush things, he added. But I don't ignore them either. Kiri smiled, small but real. Good. A pause. Because I was kind of hoping you would. Bobby let out a quiet breath. Yeah. She nodded. Yeah. They stood close again. Comfortable, easy. Not rushed. 3 years, Kiri said softly. 3 years, Bobby echoed. You think you can wait that long? She teased. He smirked. For you. A beat, yeah. Kiri laughed softly, then leaned her head lightly against his shoulder. And this time he didn't hesitate. He rested his head gently against hers. Above them the stars stretched endlessly. Below them Silverleaf glowed softly, safe, protected, growing. And somewhere in between, two futures slowly moved toward each other. Not rushed. Not forced. Just certain. Time moved differently now. Not slow, not fast. Just steady. Seasons passed across Azurewild in subtle shifts. Slightly heavier rains, warmer winds, brighter blooms in the canopy. And with them, Bobby and Kiri grew. At 16, nearly 17, they were no longer children finding their way. They knew who they were. Bobby stood at the edge of the village, adjusting one of the outer barrier nodes. What had once been a simple defensive line had become something far more advanced. Layered detection, adaptive response, even energy redistribution between nodes. Talvin stood nearby, arms crossed. You've outgrown my lessons, he said. Bobby smirked. I wouldn't go that far. I would, Talvin replied. You're not just fixing systems anymore, you're designing them. Bobby looked out toward the jungle. Just making sure everyone stays safe. Talvin gave a small nod. And building something bigger while you're at it. Silverleaf had changed too. Other villages now traded for Bobby's barrier systems, materials, tools, knowledge flowing in and out. What started as protection had become something more. Opportunity. Vaughn leaned against a nearby post, watching Bobby work. Never thought I'd see the day we'd be exporting technology, he said with a grin. Bobby laughed. Me neither. You've done good, son. That word still hit. Every time. Thanks, Dad. Later that evening, Kiri found him at the overlook. Of course, "You're here again," she said, walking up beside him. "You knew I would be." "Yeah." She stepped close, naturally now without hesitation. At 17, Kiri carried herself differently. Still playful. Still teasing. But there was confidence there now, and something deeper beneath it. "Talvin says you're basically a master engineer now," she said. "He exaggerates." "He doesn't." Bobby glanced at her. "You've been talking to him." Kiri smirked. "I have sources." "Dangerous." "Very." They shared a quiet laugh. Then silence settled in. Not awkward. Never awkward anymore. Just comfortable. Kiri leaned lightly against him. "You ever think about it?" she asked softly. Bobby didn't need to ask what she meant. "The ceremony." She nodded, "Yeah." A pause. "It's a big deal," she said. "Not just the water, but what comes after." Bobby looked at her. "The bonding." Her tail flicked once, slower than usual. "Yeah." Another pause. "You nervous?" he asked. Kiri thought about it. A little. "Why?" She hesitated. "Because it's forever." Bobby nodded slowly. "Yeah." Then he added, but not in a bad way. She looked up at him. "No." He shook his head. "In a worth it way." That hit. Kiri smiled faintly. "You've gotten better at saying the right thing." "I've had practice." "On me." "Mostly." She laughed softly. "Good." A quiet breeze moved through the trees. Kiri shifted slightly, turning to face him more fully. "You've been spending a lot of time with my parents," she said. Bobby raised an eyebrow. "I'm pretty sure they've been spending time with me." "They like you." "I know. A lot." He nodded. "I know that too." A small pause. "Then they're waiting," she said. Bobby tilted his head. "For what?" Kiri met his eyes. "For you to ask one day." There it was. Out in the open. Bobby didn't look away. "I will." No hesitation. Kiri's breath caught slightly. "Not yet," he added. "But when the time comes, I will." She nodded slowly. "Good." They stood there for a moment. Then Bobby reached for her hand. Not tentative anymore. Not unsure. Just natural. Kiri squeezed his hand gently. "You've changed," she said. "So have you." "Yeah." She smiled. "But I think I like this version of us better." Bobby smirked. "Me too." He leaned down slightly. No hesitation this time. Their kiss was softer than the first, but deeper. More certain. No nerves. No interruptions. Just them. When they pulled back, Kiri rested her forehead lightly against his. 2 years, she whispered. 2 years, he echoed. "You're going to ask my dad," she added. "Yep. And he's going to make it difficult." "Definitely." She smiled. "Good." Below them Silverleaf thrived, stronger, safer. Connected. And above, the stars remained constant. A reminder that even across centuries, across worlds, some things still found their way. Not by chance, but by choice. The village was preparing. Not loudly. Not all at once. But everywhere Bobby looked, there were signs. Decorations beginning to appear along walkways. Elders speaking in quieter, more deliberate tones. Young villagers, those nearing 18, moving with a mix of excitement and nervous energy. The sacred water ceremony was coming. And this time it included them. "You're thinking too much again." Bobby glanced over to see Kiri sitting on the railing beside him, tail swaying slowly. "Is it that obvious?" "Very." She leaned slightly toward him. "Nervous?" Bobby exhaled. "A little." "About the ceremony?" He shook his head. "Not really." Kiri tilted her head. Then what? Bobby hesitated. What comes after? Kiri didn't respond right away. Her tail slowed. Yeah, she said softly, me too. The sacred water ceremony wasn't just tradition. It was transformation. A rite of passage that marked adulthood and extended the life of every vulpine who drank from it. 300 years. To Bobby, that number still felt unreal. You ever think about how long that is? He asked. Kiri smiled faintly. Not really. Why not? She looked at him. Because it's not about how long. A pause. It's about who you spend it with. That stayed with him. That night, Bobby sat alone in his room. The small container from his cryopod rested on the table in front of him. He hadn't opened it in years. Carefully, he unlocked it. Inside, fragments of the past. Metal components. A few preserved materials. And something else, gold. Refined, pure, untouched. He picked it up slowly, turning it in his hands. Guess I know what I'm doing with this now, he murmured. The next few weeks passed quietly, but Bobby became busier. Talvin noticed first. You're hiding something, he said, watching Bobby work. Am not. You absolutely are. Bobby smirked. Maybe I'm working on a surprise. Talvin raised an eyebrow. For the village. Bobby shook his head. For someone else. Talvin's grin spread slowly. Ah. Late into the evenings, Bobby worked alone, melting, shaping, refining, careful, precise. Not just engineering. Something more personal. First the rings, simple, elegant. Gold from his past. Shaped for their future. Kiri's ring held something special. A small, brilliant crystal. A diamond core taken from the energy system of his cryopod, refined and cut carefully by Bobby himself. A piece of the very thing that kept him alive for 1,200 years. Now a symbol of something new. Then the bracelet. Delicate but strong. Gold, polished smooth, with a small fox effigy carved into it by hand. Every detail intentional. Every line meaningful. Bobby sat back, staring at the finished pieces. Yeah, he said quietly. This is right. Meanwhile, Kiri felt the change too. He's up to something, she told her mother one evening. Belle smiled knowingly. Of course he is. You know what it is, don't you? Maybe. Kiri narrowed her eyes. You're not telling me. Belle shook her head gently. Some things are better as surprises. Red, standing nearby, crossed his arms. He's preparing. Kiri looked at him. For what? Red met her gaze. For the future. The night before the ceremony approached. Silverleaf glowed with soft lights. Lanterns hung from every walkway. The air felt different, heavier. But not in a bad way. Important. Bobby found Kiri at the overlook, one last time before everything changed. Tomorrow, she said softly. Yeah. They stood side by side. You ready? He asked. Kiri nodded slowly. I think so. A pause. You. Bobby looked at her. Yeah. But his hand brushed lightly against the pocket where the rings and bracelet rested. Not yet. Soon. Kiri leaned gently against him. Everything's going to be different after this, she said. Not everything. She glanced up at him. No. He smiled slightly. Not the important parts. Kiri's expression softened. Good. They stood there a little longer. No rush, no fear. Just anticipation. Of what came next. Because tomorrow, they would step into adulthood. And after that, a promise Bobby was already preparing to keep. Dawn came softly to Silverleaf. Golden light filtered through the towering canopy, illuminating the village in a warm, almost ethereal glow. Lanterns from the night before still hung along the walkways, their faint light fading as the sun rose. Today was not an ordinary day. Today, children became adults. Bobby stood at the edge of the central gathering platform, adjusting his sleeve for what felt like the 10th time. "You're going to wear a hole in that if you keep doing it." He looked over. Kiri stood beside him. She looked different. Not just older. Not just taller. There was a quiet confidence in her posture, a calm strength in her expression. "You look amazing," Bobby said before he could stop himself. Kiri blinked, then smiled. "You clean up pretty well yourself, human." High praise. Very. They stood side by side, watching as the village gathered, families, friends, elders. All eyes drawn toward the center. At the heart of the platform stood a carved stone basin, ancient, worn smooth by time. Inside it, the sacred water. It shimmered faintly, catching the morning light in ways that felt almost alive. Bobby leaned slightly toward Kiri. "That's it." She nodded. "That's it. Doesn't look like much." Kiri smirked. "Neither did you when I first found you." Bobby chuckled, fair. Elder Nala stepped forward. The entire village fell silent. "Today," she began, her voice steady and strong, "we honor the path from youth to adulthood." Her gaze moved across the gathered young villagers. "The sacred water is not a gift. A pause. It is a responsibility." The air felt heavier now. Those who drink today do not simply gain years. Her eyes softened slightly. They gain purpose. Bobby felt that deep. 300 years is not meant to be wasted. Silence stretched across the platform. It is meant to be lived. One by one, the names were called. Each young villager stepped forward, cupping the glowing water in their hands, drinking and stepping back. Some smiled. Some cried. Families embraced. It wasn't just a ceremony. It was a turning point. Kiri quickstep. Bobby's breath caught slightly. Kiri stepped forward. Confident, steady. She paused at the basin, looking down at the shimmering water. Then, without hesitation, she cupped it in her hands. For a brief moment, she closed her eyes. Then drank. The water glowed faintly as it touched her lips. A soft shimmer passed through her, subtle but real. When she stepped back, something had changed. Not physically, but undeniably. She was no longer a child. Kiri turned and found Bobby immediately. Her smile was soft, but stronger now. "Bobby Weston." The name echoed. A murmur moved through the crowd. Bobby stepped forward, slowly. Every step felt heavy. Important. He reached the basin. For a moment, he hesitated. This wasn't his world. Not originally. This wasn't his people. And yet he looked up, Amber Von Red Bell Kiri. All watching. All accepting, all his. Bobby took a breath. Then reached down, cupped the sacred water in his hands. "Guess I'm really doing this," he murmured. And drank. For a split second, nothing happened. Then a warmth spread through him. Not overwhelming. Not painful. Just steady. Like something inside him was settling into place, aligning. His breath caught slightly. Then eased. When he stepped back, the world felt the same. But he didn't. Silence held for a moment. Then a cheer rose through Silverleaf. Not just for the villagers, for him. Kiri stepped forward first. "How do you feel?" she asked. Bobby blinked. "Like I belong." Kiri smiled. "Good." Amber pulled him into a tight embrace. "We're so proud of you," she said softly. Vaughn clapped him on the back. "Welcome to adulthood, son." Red gave a firm nod. "You've earned your place here." Later, as the ceremony ended and the village began to celebrate, Bobby found himself back at the overlook. "Of course." Kiri joined him quietly. "So," she said, "we did it." "Yeah." A pause. We're adults now. Bobby smirked slightly. Feels weird. A little. She stepped closer. But also right. He nodded, yeah. A quiet moment passed. Then Kiri looked at him, really looked at him. What comes next? She asked softly. Bobby's hand brushed lightly against his pocket. The rings. The bracelet, not yet, but soon. He met her eyes. Something important. Kiri tilted her head slightly. Mysterious. A little. She smiled. I like it. The sun dipped lower. The village glowed with celebration. And for the first time, Bobby wasn't just a boy from another time. He wasn't just surviving. He wasn't just learning. He was one of them. And what came next would define the rest of his life. The celebration lasted long into the night. Laughter echoed through Silverleaf. Lanterns glowed warmly along every walkway. Music, food, and voices blended into something alive, something joyful. But Bobby wasn't in the center of it. He stood at the edge of the village, waiting. His hand rested in his pocket. On the rings. You're going to wear a hole through your pants at this rate. Bobby turned. Red stood a few steps behind him, arms crossed. Of course he knew. I was wondering when you'd show up, Bobby said. Red stepped beside him, looking out into the jungle. You've been pacing, Red replied, badly. Bobby let out a quiet breath. Yeah. A pause. You nervous? Red asked. Bobby didn't lie. Yes, sir. Red nodded once. Good. Bobby blinked. Good. Means you understand the weight of what you're about to ask. Silence settled between them. Bobby straightened slightly. I do. Red glanced at him. Then say it. Bobby swallowed. This was it. I want your permission to bond with Kiri. The words hung in the air. Red didn't respond immediately. He studied Bobby carefully. Why? He asked. Not harsh, not cold. Just real. Bobby took a breath. Because I love her. No hesitation. Because she's my best friend. Another. Because I want to spend my life with her. He steadied himself. And because I'll protect her, always. Red's gaze didn't waver. Words are easy. Bobby nodded. I know. Red stepped closer. You've proven yourself before. A pause. Strength. Another. Discipline. And then, but this is different. Bobby met his eyes. I know that too. Silence again. Then slowly, Bobby reached into his pocket. There's something else. He pulled out the small cloth wrap. Carefully unfolded it. Inside 2 gold rings, simple, elegant. And one held a small, brilliant diamond. Red's eyes shifted slightly. Where did you get that? He asked. Bobby looked down at them. From my cryopod. A pause. It's part of the system that kept me alive for 1,200 years. He swallowed. I wanted to turn it into something that means living. Red's expression changed, subtly. Bobby continued. The gold, too. It's from the same place. He held the rings out slightly. My past turned into our future. Silence. Then Bobby reached into his pocket again. The bracelet gold polished, with a carefully carved fox effigy. This too, he said quietly. For her. Red looked at the pieces. Longer this time. Then at Bobby. You made these? Yes, sir. Yourself? Yes, sir. Another pause. Then Red exhaled slowly. You didn't have to do all this. Bobby shook his head. I wanted to. Red looked back out toward the village. You came here with nothing. A beat. And built everything. Bobby said nothing. You protected this village. Another. You became part of this family. And then Red turned back to him. And you love my daughter. Bobby met his gaze. Yes, sir. A long silence. Then Red nodded. You have my blessing. Bobby froze, really. Red's expression didn't change much, but his tone softened. You've earned it. Bobby let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Thank you, sir. Red placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Don't make me regret it. Bobby gave a small, determined smile. I won't. As Red stepped away, he paused briefly. She's waiting, you know. Bobby blinked. What? Red smirked just slightly. She's been watching you pace for the last 10 minutes. Bobby turned. And there, across the lantern-lit walkway, Kiri stood, trying and failing to look like she hadn't been watching. Their eyes met. She froze, then smiled, soft, hopeful. Bobby looked back at Red. Red gave a small nod. Go on. Bobby turned and started walking toward her, heart pounding, rings in hand, future waiting. The night was calm, almost impossibly so. Lanterns floated above Silverleaf, like tiny stars that had descended to rest among the treetops. The celebration from the sacred water ceremony had quieted, leaving only the soft murmurs of villagers returning to their homes. Bobby stood at the edge of the central platform. His hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what he carried in it. The small cloth wrap, carefully unfolded, revealing the rings and the bracelet he had crafted with his own hands. Every line, every facet, a piece of his past and a promise of their future. He exhaled. Okay, he muttered to himself. You can do this. Across the platform, Kiri waited. Her eyes met his and he could see it. Anticipation, nerves, trust. She had always been fearless. But tonight, even she was human. Bobby stepped forward. Kiri, he said, his voice low but steady. I have something I need to ask you. She tilted her head, a soft smile tugging at her lips. I thought you might. He took another step. Then another, closer, closer, he knelt. The lanterns cast a golden glow across her face. The same face he had first met when he woke from 1,200 years of sleep. The face that had guided him through childhood, adolescence, and now, nearly adulthood. He opened the small box. Inside, the 2 gold rings glinted softly in the lantern light. One held the tiny diamond from his cryopod, the very thing that had kept him alive across centuries. The bracelet with the fox effigy sat beside it, perfect and delicate. Kiri, quick step, he said, voice trembling just enough to reveal the enormity of the moment. You've been my best friend, my guide, my partner through everything. He swallowed. And I don't want to go through the rest of my life without you by my side. Her tail flicked nervously behind her. She swallowed. Bobby continued. Will you bond with me? Will you be my partner, my family, my everything? Silence. A single heartbeat stretched across the platform. Then slowly, Kiri's eyes glimmered with tears. She knelt beside him. Bobby Weston, she whispered, voice shaking, yes. The word seemed to echo across the treetops. Bobby carefully slid the gold ring onto her finger. The diamond sparkled faintly, catching the lantern light like a tiny star from another age. Then he fastened the bracelet around her wrist, the fox effigy resting lightly against her skin. It's perfect, she said softly. Bobby smiled, almost trembling. So are you. And in that quiet moment, the world seemed to pause. Then a cheer rose from the edges of the platform. Villagers, Amber, Vaughn, Red, Belle, and everyone who had watched them grow, clapped, laughed, and cried. Finally, someone shouted. About time. Another echoed. Bobby laughed, a breathless, happy sound. Kiri laughed too, leaning lightly against him. We're really doing this, she whispered. Forever, he replied. And for the first time since waking into this world, Bobby felt completely, utterly home. Above them the stars twinkled, silent witnesses to a promise made, a bond forged, and a future waiting to be written together. The morning dawned calm and golden over Silverleaf. The jungle birds sang as if celebrating, the wind rustling through the treetops in a soft, playful dance. Lanterns from the previous night's village watch still hung, catching the sunlight and scattering tiny prisms across the wooden walkways. Inside Bobby and Kiri's home, the air was thick with anticipation and joy. Kiri's labor had begun at dawn. Bobby held her hand, fingers entwined, eyes wide but steady. "You're doing amazing," he whispered. Kiri gave him a tired but radiant smile. "I couldn't do it without you." Hours passed in a blur of nerves, love, and anticipation. Then finally, the cries of new life filled the room. A boy first. Strong, vocal, healthy. Bobby carefully held him in his arms. "Von Red Weston," Kiri murmured, the name flowing from her lips. "After your grandfather and mine." Bobby kissed the top of the newborn's head. "Perfect," he whispered. Then a girl. Gentle, soft, alert. Kiri held her against her chest, tears streaming. "Belle Amber Weston," Bobby said softly, smiling through his own tears. "Our little miracle." The twins were perfect. The boy strong and curious already, eyes glimmering like reds. The girl calm and observant, with a spark of Kiri's fire. Outside, Silverleaf celebrated. Villagers brought food. Elders shared blessings. Amber and Vaughn beamed with pride, calling Bobby our son once more, overwhelmed with happiness at finally seeing this family continue. "You did it," Amber whispered, hugging Bobby. "You're a father now," Vaughn added, his voice proud. Bobby's chest swelled. "We did it," he said, looking at Kiri, at the twins, at the home and village that had raised him from a boy lost in time into a man of purpose. Outside the village, word of Bobby's predator protection barriers had spread. Requests for his systems came from neighboring villages. Merchants, travelers, and even distant settlements sought advice, installations, and the reassurance of safety. Bobby smiled at the thought, his knowledge, born of earth and nurtured in Silverleaf, protecting countless lives. As night fell, Bobby and Kiri stepped onto their veranda. The twins slept in a small cradle nearby, their breathing soft and steady. Lanterns glowed warmly around the house. Bobby brushed his hand against Kiri's cheek. "We did it," he said again quietly, a soft smile touching his lips. Kiri leaned into him, tail brushing lightly against his leg. "And this is just the beginning," she whispered. The jungle rustled, the village hummed, and for the first time in his 1,200-year-long life, Bobby felt truly complete. Above, stars twinkled gently in the sky. Silverleaf safe, thriving and protected. A family strong, bonded and growing. A legacy built from courage, love and time itself. And for Bobby, Kiri, Vaughn, Amber and all of Silverleaf, the future was theirs, bright, joyful and endless. The end.